I was braiding my best client's hair when she told me about the amazing man she was seeing. She described his laugh, the way he cooked for her, how he made her feel special. Every detail she shared felt familiar, too familiar. And then she showed me his picture. It was my husband, the man I'd just made breakfast for that morning, the father of my 4-month-old twin girls. Girl, I had to finish that braid with my hands shaking and my world falling apart. That was 3 years ago in New Orleans, and what happened next almost destroyed me. But it also made me into the woman sitting here today, running a multi-million-dollar hair care empire. Let me tell you how I went from rock bottom to the top. My name is Nia Thompson, and right now I'm living a life I couldn't have imagined during my darkest days. I own Crown and Glory, a natural hair care line that's in Target, Sephora, and Ulta. I'm married to an incredible man who owns 3 barbershops across Louisiana. My twin daughters, Maya and Mia, are 3 years old and thriving. But to get here, baby, I had to lose everything first. And I mean everything. That day in the salon changed my life forever. Her name was Vanessa, and she'd been coming to me for almost 2 years. Every other week, like clockwork, sitting in my chair at Blessed Hands Hair Studio on Magazine Street. We talked about everything: her job, her family, her dating struggles. She'd become more than a client. She was someone I trusted, someone I gave advice to, someone I considered a friend. And the whole time, she was sleeping with my husband. Girl, this man is something else, she said that day, her voice all dreamy while I worked on her knotless braids. He's a construction supervisor, makes good money, and he treats me like a queen. Takes me to nice restaurants, buys me gifts, makes me feel seen. You know what I mean? My hands kept moving through her hair automatically, but my mind was racing. Jamal was a construction supervisor. Jamal loved trying new restaurants. But lots of men fit that description, right? I tried to calm myself down, told myself I was being paranoid. The twins had been born 4 months ago, and I was exhausted, emotional, probably overthinking everything. That's good, girl, I managed to say. You deserve someone who treats you right. Oh, I wanted to show you his picture. Vanessa pulled out her phone, swiping through her photos with excitement. He's so fine, Nia. Like, I can't even believe he's interested in me. She turned the phone toward me, and my entire world stopped. There he was.
Jamal.
My Jamal. Smiling at the camera in a photo I'd never seen, wearing a shirt I'd bought him for his birthday, looking at whoever took that photo, probably Vanessa, the way he used to look at me. Time slowed down. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, felt my hands go numb, tasted something bitter in my mouth. But I had to keep braiding, had to keep my face neutral, had to finish this hair, because I needed the money. We had twins at home, bills stacking up, and I couldn't afford to fall apart in the middle of a client's appointment. He's handsome, I heard myself say, my voice sounding strange and distant. When did y'all start talking? About 7 months ago, Vanessa said, putting her phone away. Met him at a bar downtown. He was so confident. You know? Approached me, made me laugh, got my number. We've been inseparable ever since. 7 months. The twins were 4 months old, which meant he'd started this affair when I was 5 months pregnant. When I was carrying his daughters, dealing with swollen feet and morning sickness, and preparing our home for our babies, he was out there starting something with my client. With someone who sat in my chair and smiled in my face. What would you do if you were in my position? Would you confront her right there? Would you finish the hair first? Would you call your husband immediately? I'm curious because in that moment, I felt so lost. Drop a comment and let me know. And if you're finding this story relatable, hit that like button. Trust me, you're going to want to hear how this ends. That I finished Vanessa's hair on autopilot. Took her money, booked her next appointment, hugged her goodbye like nothing was wrong. The other stylists in the salon were busy with their own clients, music playing, everyone laughing and talking. Normal day at Blessed Hands. Except my life was imploding and nobody knew it. The moment Vanessa left, I texted Jamal, "We need to talk. Come home after work." Then I called my mother and asked if she could keep the twins overnight. Mama could hear something in my voice because she didn't ask questions, just said yes immediately. Thank God for that woman. She'd been helping me with Maya and Mia since they were born, taking them during my shifts at the salon so I could work. I got through the rest of my appointments somehow. Cut hair, did twists, gave advice about protective styling, all while my mind was elsewhere. My last client left at 7 p.m., and I sat in my chair, surrounded by hair products and styling tools. Everything I'd worked so hard to build, and I just cried. Ugly crying, the kind that comes from your soul. My colleague and friend, Keisha, found me like that. "Nia, what's wrong?" She rushed over, kneeling beside my chair. "Is it the babies? Are Maya and Mia okay?" "They're fine," I managed to say between sobs. "It's Jamal. He's cheating on me." I told her everything. Showed her the picture Vanessa had shown me. Explained the timeline. Watched Keisha's face go from shock to rage. She'd known Vanessa too. We all had. The betrayal ran deep. "That girl has been sitting in this salon, in your chair, getting her hair done while messing with your husband?" Keisha's voice was shaking. "And she's been telling you about it? Playing in your face like that?" "She doesn't know it's my husband," I said, though that barely mattered. "She thinks he's just some man she met at a bar." "But Keisha, how do I even go home tonight? How do I look at him?" Keisha held my hand. "You go home and you get your answers. And whatever happens, we got you. This whole salon got you. You're not alone in this." I drove home to our little house in the 7th Ward, the house we'd scraped together money to rent, where we'd brought our daughters home from the hospital, where I thought we were building a life. Jamal's truck was in the driveway. All the lights were on. Everything looked normal from the outside, but I knew nothing would ever be normal again. He was on the couch watching TV when I walked in. "Hey baby," he said casually. "Where are the girls?" "At Mama's." I stood in the doorway, looking at this man I thought I knew. "We need to talk about Vanessa." I watched his face change. First confusion, then recognition, then panic. He knew he was caught. "Nia, let me explain." "Explain what?" My voice was calm, too calm. "Explain how you've been sleeping with my client for 7 months? How you started this when I was pregnant with your children? How you've been lying to both of us this whole time? It's not what you think. Don't you dare." The calmness broke. "Don't you dare insult me by lying more. She showed me your picture today, Jamal. She told me everything. About the restaurants, the gifts, the 7 months you've been together. While I'm at home with our 4-month-old twins, you're out there playing house with her?" What he said next, girl, I'll never forget it. "You changed after the babies came. You're always tired, always focused on them. Never have time for me anymore." I felt invisible in my own house. The audacity. The absolute audacity of this man to blame me for his cheating because I was taking care of our newborn twins. Because I was exhausted from giving birth, from nursing 2 babies, from working full-time at the salon to help support our family. He felt invisible? What about me? When did he last see me? "Get out," I said quietly. "Pack your things and get out of my house." "Nia, wait, get out." I screamed at this time, all the pain and rage pouring out. "You don't get to do this to me. You don't get to cheat. And then blame me for it. Get your stuff and leave. Now." I expected him to argue more, to beg, to fight for our family. Instead, he stood up and walked to our bedroom. I heard drawers opening, clothes being packed. 20 minutes later, he came out with 2 bags. Just 2 bags. Like our 3 years of marriage, our twin daughters, our whole life together could fit into 2 duffel bags. "I'll come back for the rest later," he said at the door. "And Nia? I'm sorry. I really am." Then he left. Just like that. Walked out the door and drove away, leaving me standing in our living room, alone, trying to process what had just happened. I called Mama and told her everything, broke down crying all over again. She told me to come get some sleep, that she'd watch the twins, that we'd figure everything out tomorrow. But tomorrow brought worse news. So much worse. I went to our joint bank account the next morning to check our finances, to figure out how I was going to support the twins on my own. The account was empty. Completely empty. Jamal had withdrawn everything. $12,000 we'd been saving for a down payment on a house, for emergencies, for our daughter's future.
Gone.
I called the bank, frantic, hoping there was some mistake. There wasn't. He'd made the withdrawal the day before, the same day I'd texted him that we needed to talk. He knew I'd found out, and he'd stolen our money before coming home to face me. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was calculated. This was planned. If you found my story interesting, you can like the video and subscribe to the channel. I sat on my mama's couch staring at that empty bank account on my phone, and I felt something inside me break. Not just my heart this time, but my hope. My belief that things would be okay. How was I supposed to feed my babies? Pay rent? Keep the lights on? I was a hairstylist making decent money, but not enough to cover everything on my own, especially not with twins. Jamal had taken every safety net we had. Mama found me like that, frozen and staring. Baby, what's wrong now? He took it all, I whispered. Every penny in our account. $12,000. Gone. My mother, bless her soul, didn't say, "I told you so," even though she'd never fully trusted Jamal. She just held me while I cried. Then she said something that stuck with me. "He can take your money, but he can't take your skills. You got magic in those hands, Nia. You've been making women beautiful for years. That's yours. That's something he can never steal." She was right, but knowing that didn't pay bills. The next few days were a blur of panic and survival mode. I called a lawyer about the money, but they said since it was a joint account, technically Jamal hadn't committed a crime. He was just a coward and a thief, but not a criminal. I filed for divorce immediately, asked for full custody and child support. The lawyer warned me it would take months to see any money, if Jamal even paid. I went back to work at the salon 3 days later, because I had no choice. Maya and Mia needed diapers, formula, everything. Mama was helping, but she was on a fixed income. I couldn't lean on her too much. So I showed up to blessed hands, eyes swollen from crying, heart shattered, and tried to act normal. Keisha had told everyone what happened. I walked in to find all my colleagues, these beautiful black women, who'd become my sisters, gathered around with sympathy and rage in their eyes. But it was what they'd done that made me break down again. They'd pooled together money, $300, and gave it to me in an envelope. "We got you," Keisha said simply. "That's what we do. We show up for each other." I wanted to refuse it, pride telling me I should handle this alone. But looking at their faces, these women who worked hard for every dollar and still chose to help me, I realized accepting help wasn't weakness. It was community. It was love. I took that money with tears streaming down my face and promised myself I'd pay it forward one day. But the hits kept coming. Vanessa had another appointment scheduled for 2 weeks later. I thought about canceling it, telling her to find another stylist, but I needed the money too desperately. So when she walked in, all smiles and excited to tell me about her man, I had to make a choice. Do I tell her the truth? Or do I keep my mouth shut and get through it? I chose silence that day. I know some of you watching might think I should have confronted her right there. Should have told her everything. But put yourself in my shoes for a second. I had 4-month-old twins at home, negative money in my account, and a chair full of clients booked who paid my bills. Would you have blown everything up? Or would you have kept working? Drop a comment and let me know, because I still wonder if I made the right call. Vanessa sat in my chair talking about Jamal, calling him by his real name now, gushing about how he'd taken her to Commander's Palace for dinner, the restaurant I'd been begging to try for years, that he said we couldn't afford. She showed me gifts he'd bought her, probably with our stolen money. Every word was a knife, but I Kept braiding, kept nodding, kept pretending. After she left, I locked myself in the salon bathroom and threw up. The stress, the betrayal, the fact that I just smiled through that appointment like everything was fine. It was too much. But I had mouths to feed, so I cleaned myself up and took my next client. Weeks turned into months, and life became this exhausting cycle of survival. Wake up at 5 a.m. with the twins, feed them, get them ready, drop them at mama's, work all day at the salon, pick them up, come home exhausted, put them to bed, cry, repeat. I lost weight I didn't have to lose. Stopped doing my own hair. Wore the same 3 outfits over and over because I couldn't afford anything new. Every dollar went to rent, utilities, baby supplies, and lawyer fees. Jamal never came back for his things like he said he would. Never called to check on his daughters. Never sent a penny for child support. It was like he'd vanished into thin air with Vanessa and our money, leaving me to raise our twins alone. The divorce papers were served, but he wasn't responding to those either. My lawyer said, "We have to wait," that these things took time. Meanwhile, I was drowning. 6 months after he left, I hit my lowest point. I was 3 months behind on rent, getting eviction notices. My car got repossessed because I couldn't make the payments. The electricity got shut off twice. I had to borrow money from mama that I knew she didn't have. I considered applying for government assistance, which there's no shame in, but the paperwork required proof of income and all sorts of documentation I didn't have organized. Everything felt impossible. One night, sitting in the dark because I'd chosen to pay for formula instead of the electric bill, I looked at my sleeping daughters and thought about giving up. Not on life, but on New Orleans. On this house, this situation, this constant struggle. Maybe I should move back home with mama permanently. Maybe I should leave the salon and find some corporate job with benefits. Maybe I wasn't meant to make it work. But then Maya made this little sound in her sleep, and I remembered why I couldn't quit. These girls deserved better than a mother who gave up when things got hard. They deserved to see a woman who fought back, who built something from nothing, who refused to let a man's betrayal write the end of her story. That's when I started paying attention to what my clients were saying. Women would sit in my chair and talk about their problems, their hair struggles especially. Natural hair care was having a moment, but good products were expensive or didn't work. Women were mixing their own concoctions at home, sharing recipes on Facebook, looking for solutions that actually addressed black hair needs. I'd been doing hair for 8 years at that point. I knew what worked and what didn't. I knew the struggles, the shrinkage issues, the dryness, the breakage, the search for products that didn't have harmful chemicals but still delivered results. And I'd been experimenting with my own mixes for years, making treatments for clients with specific needs. One of my regulars, an older woman named Miss Patricia, said something that changed everything. "Nia, baby, you need to bottle whatever you put in my hair today. My curls have never looked this good. I'd pay good money for this." Other clients agreed, started asking what I'd used, wanting to buy it from me. That's when the idea hit. What if I did bottle it? What if I created a hair care line specifically for natural hair, affordable but effective, made by someone who understood the struggle because I lived it? The idea felt impossible at first. I had no money, no business experience, no chemistry background. But I had knowledge. I had a community of women who trusted me, and I had absolutely nothing left to lose. Sometimes, that's all you need to take a risk. When you're already at the bottom, the only way is up. I started researching at night after the twins went to sleep. How to formulate hair products, how to source ingredients, how to start a small business, everything. YouTube became my business school. I took notes, made plans, dreamed bigger than my circumstances. If you're going through something similar right now, if you're at rock bottom wondering how you'll survive, I want you to know that this is exactly when you need to start planning your comeback. Don't wait until things are perfect. Start now. And if this story is inspiring you, hit that subscribe button because part 3 is where everything changes. I scraped together $300 from tax returns and birthday money from relatives, and I bought ingredients, natural oils, butters, essential oils, containers, labels I designed on a free app. I turned my kitchen into a laboratory, mixing and testing formulations while the twins napped. My first batch was terrible, separated within days. My second batch was too thick. My third batch smelled wrong. But my fourth batch? Girl, that was magic. A curl-defining cream that actually worked, made with shea butter, coconut oil, aloe vera, and a special blend I'm not sharing because that's proprietary now. I tested it on myself. First, then on Mama, then on Keisha. Everyone said the same thing. This needs to be sold. I made 20 jars and brought them to the salon. Sold out in 3 days. Made 40 more jars. Sold out in a week. The demand was real, and suddenly I had something that felt like hope. I called my little line Crown and Glory because that's what every Black woman deserves, to feel like royalty. And baby, women responded to that message. But success brought new problems. I was making products at home, working full-time at the salon, raising twins, alone and running on maybe 4 hours of sleep. Something had to give. I couldn't scale the business working from my kitchen. I needed help, needed space, needed resources I didn't have. That's when Keisha made a suggestion that seemed crazy. Why don't you ask the salon owner if you can use the back room after hours to make your products? There's that storage space we barely use. Offer her a percentage of sales in exchange for the space. The salon owner, Miss Joyce, was a savvy businesswoman who'd owned Blessed Hands for 20 years. I was terrified to ask, convinced she'd say no. But she surprised me. Not only did she say yes, she offered to invest $5,000 in exchange for 10% of the business. She saw potential in what I was building and wanted to support it. That $5,000 changed everything. I could buy ingredients in bulk, reducing costs. I could afford better packaging, labels, insurance. I could register the business properly, get an LLC, open a business bank account. Crown and Glory went from a side hustle to a legitimate company. Within 6 months, I had products in 3 local beauty supply stores. Within a year, I'd expanded the line to include a leave-in conditioner, edge control, and hair oil. The money wasn't huge yet, but it was steady and growing. More importantly, I was building something that was mine, something Jamal couldn't touch or take or ruin. The twins were a year old when I finally got word about Jamal. He'd been living with Vanessa, but according to the streets of New Orleans and mutual friends, things weren't going well. He'd lost his construction supervisor job for missing too many days. Started drinking heavily. Vanessa had kicked him out after he couldn't contribute to bills. He was couch surfing, looking rough, asking people for money. Part of me felt satisfaction hearing this. Karma was doing her thing. But mostly I just felt sad for my daughters. Who deserved better than a father who'd chosen destruction over responsibility? The divorce finally went through, and the judge ordered child support, but Jamal wasn't paying. Wasn't working. The court couldn't garnish wages that didn't exist. I let go of expecting anything from him. That anger, that bitterness, that hope that he'd step up, I released all of it. He wasn't going to be part of our story, and that was okay. We didn't need him. Maya and Mia had their grandmother had a whole community of people who loved them. That was enough. 2 years after Jamal left, Crown and Glory was doing numbers I couldn't have imagined. We'd gone from my kitchen to a small warehouse space, from 20 jars to 5,000 units a month. My products were in 15 beauty supply stores across Louisiana, and I'd just gotten my first major retail meeting with a regional buyer from a national chain. But let me be real with you, success didn't erase the trauma. I was making good money, providing for my girls, building an empire, but I was also exhausted, emotionally closed off, and convinced I'd never trust another man again. Maya and Mia were almost 3 years old, thriving and beautiful, but they kept asking about their daddy. How do you explain to toddlers that their father chose himself over them? That question haunted me. The twins' third birthday party changed everything, though I didn't know it at the time. Mama insisted on throwing them a big celebration at her house, inviting everyone from the salon, church members, neighbors. Half of New Orleans, it felt like. I was stressed about the cost, but Mama shut that down quick. Baby, you've been carrying everything alone for 3 years. Let people celebrate these girls. Let people celebrate you. I showed up early to help set up, and that's when I saw him. This fine man in the driveway next to Mama's house, working on his car with his shirt off, tattoos covering his arms and chest, looking like something out of a dream. I tried not to stare, but girl, it had been 3 years since I'd even looked at a man like that. I was rusty. That's Daniel, Mama said, catching me looking. Moved in next door about 6 months ago. Once. Barbershop in Mid-City. Real respectful young man, always offering to help me with stuff around the house. Before I could respond, Maya and Mia came running out, excited about their birthday decorations. And somehow, I don't even know how, one of their balloons got loose and floated right into Daniel's yard. Both girls started crying, and without thinking, I walked over to ask if we could get it. "Excuse me," I called out, trying to keep my eyes on his face and not his body. "I'm so sorry, but my daughter's balloon." "Say no more." He smiled, and Lord have mercy, that smile made me forget my own name for a second. He walked over, grabbed the balloon from where it was caught in a bush, and brought it over to the girls. "Here you go, pretty ladies. Happy birthday." Maya and Mia's tears turned into giggles immediately. They thanked him in their sweet little voices, and I watched this man's face just light up. He knelt down to their level, complimented their matching birthday dresses, asked them how old they were turning. The gentleness in his voice, the patience in his eyes, it was everything their father never gave them. "Thank you," I said, meaning it. "I'm Nia. These are my daughters, Maya and Mia." "Daniel." He stood up, extending his hand. "I've heard a lot about you from Miss Clara. She's always talking about her brilliant daughter with the hair care business." We shook hands, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just attraction, but possibility. Like maybe not all men were like Jamal. But I shut that thought down quick. I had too much to protect, too much to lose. I couldn't afford to be wrong about another man. "Well, thanks again," I said, already stepping back toward Mama's yard. "We should get back to the party. Set up." "Maybe I'll stop by later if that's okay," Daniel said. "Bring a gift for the birthday girls?" I wanted to say no, wanted to keep that wall up. But Maya and Mia were already jumping up and down saying, "Yes, yes," so I smiled and said, "Sure, that would be nice." He showed up an hour into the party with gifts that made me want to cry. Not expensive toys or anything flashy, but thoughtful things. Books about little black girls being scientists and doctors, art supplies, building blocks. Things that showed he'd actually thought about what 3-year-old twins might enjoy and need. He stayed for about 30 minutes, was polite to everyone, played with the kids, then left without trying to push for my number or make any moves. That's what got me. The respect. The boundaries. The way he showed up not to impress me, but to celebrate my daughters. "That man is interested in you," Keisha said after he left, fanning herself dramatically. "And girl, if you don't explore that, I will." "I'm not ready," I said automatically. Maybe I'll never be ready. But Mama sat down next to me while the girls played and said something I needed to hear. "Baby," Jamal broke. "Your heart, not your ability to love. Don't let that man take any more from you than he already has. You deserve happiness. Those girls deserve to see their mama happy. If not Daniel, then someone, but you can't close yourself off forever." I let those words sit with me for weeks. Daniel and I kept running into each other, at Mama's house, at the grocery store, at a community event. Each time, he was friendly, but never pushy. Never asked for my number. Never made me uncomfortable, just present. Available. Patient. 3 months after the birthday party, my car broke down outside Mama's house. I was stressed, calculating how much a repair would cost, wondering if I should just Uber everywhere for a while. Daniel came outside and offered to take a look. Fix the problem in 20 minutes, something simple I could have done myself if I knew what to look for. Thank you, I said, meaning it deeply. How much do I owe you? Nothing. He wiped his hands on a rag. But if you want to thank me, maybe we could grab coffee sometime? Just coffee. No pressure. No expectations. Just two neighbors getting to know each other. Every part of me wanted to say no. To protect myself, my girls, my peace. But I looked at this man who'd been nothing but kind, who'd fixed my car and asked for nothing, who'd waited months to even suggest coffee, and I thought about what Mama said. Was I really going to let Jamal steal my future too? Okay, I heard myself say, just coffee. That coffee date turned into a 3-hour conversation at a small cafe on Magazine Street. We talked about everything. Our childhoods, our dreams, our businesses, our disappointments. I told him about Jamal, about the betrayal and the money and the struggle. I watched his face for judgment or pity, but all I saw was understanding. My ex-wife cheated on me too, Daniel shared. 3 years ago. Caught her with my business partner. Lost my wife and my first barbershop in the same week. Thought I'd never trust anyone again. What changed? I asked. I realized trust isn't about never getting hurt again, he said. It's about believing that healing is possible. That not everyone is like the people who hurt us. That we're worth the risk of trying again. Girl, I went home from that date and cried. Not sad tears, but released tears. I'd been holding on to so much pain, so much fear, and here was this man offering me permission to let it go. We started seeing each other after that. Slowly, carefully, honestly. He met the twins properly, and they loved him. He came to Crown and Glory's first major retail launch party. He supported my business without trying to control it or feel threatened by my success. So, have you had such a man in your life? If so, what was his support for you? Let's talk in the comments. If you like my story, I would be very happy if you liked my video and supported the channel. 6 months into dating, things got real. Crown and Glory received an offer from Target to carry our products in 200 stores nationwide. It was everything I dreamed of, the breakthrough moment that would change everything. But the offer came with requirements. I needed to scale production massively, needed more warehouse space, needed to hire staff, needed capital I didn't have. The buyer gave me 60 days to figure it out, or they'd move on to another brand. I was panicking, running numbers, trying to figure out how to make it work without taking on debt that could destroy me if it failed. What would you do in that situation? Would you take the risk on borrowed money? Would you turn down the opportunity? Would you find investors? Drop a comment and let me know, because this decision kept me up for weeks. Daniel found me one night at 2 a.m., sitting in my warehouse surrounded by spreadsheets and calculator, crying from stress. Talk to me, he said, sitting down beside me. What's going on? I explained everything. The Target deal, the opportunity, the fear, the impossible math. I'm so close, I said. Everything I've worked for is right there, but I can't reach it. I don't have the money to scale up, don't have collateral for a big enough loan, don't want to give up too much equity to investors. I'm stuck. How much do you need? Daniel asked. $50,000, I said, laughing bitterly. Might as well be 50 million. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I have that. I stared at him. What? I've been saving to open 2 more barbershops, he explained. I have $60,000 in a business savings account. I'll loan it to you. No interest, no equity required. Just a loan, business to business, with a contract and everything legal. You pay me back when Crown and Glory starts making Target money. Daniel, I can't. You can, he interrupted, because you're going to succeed. I've watched you build this empire from nothing. Nia. I've seen your work ethic, your vision, your resilience. This isn't charity. This is an investment in something I know will pay off. And more than that, it's me showing you that I believe in you, that I'm here for you, that we're partners. I want you to understand something. After Jamal, I swore I'd never depend on a man again. Never put myself in a position where someone could have financial power over me. But this wasn't that. Daniel was offering help. Without conditions, support without control. He was showing me what real partnership looked like. I took the loan. We drew up a proper contract, made everything legal and professional. I used that money to rent a bigger warehouse, buy equipment, hire 6 employees, and scale up production. Within 2 months, Crown and Glory products were on Target shelves, and sales exceeded every projection. Within 6 months, I'd paid Daniel back in full with a bonus for his faith in me. But more importantly, I'd learned to trust again. Not blindly, not naively, but wisely. I'd learned that letting people help you isn't weakness, it's wisdom. That real love shows up not just in good times, but in 2 a.m. warehouse breakdowns with spreadsheets everywhere. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual friends that Jamal's life had continued falling apart. The drinking got worse. He'd developed cirrhosis, liver failing from years of alcohol abuse. He'd reached out to Mama, asking about the girls, claiming he wanted to be in their lives now that he'd gotten his act together. But Mama wasn't buying it. And neither was I. He's sick, baby, Mama told me. Real sick. Might not make it another year if he doesn't stop drinking and get proper treatment. Says he wants to see his daughters before it's too late. I felt something complicated in that moment. Not forgiveness exactly, but not satisfaction either. Just sadness. For everyone involved, especially for Maya and Mia, who deserved better than a father who only wanted them. When he was dying, what do you think I should do? I asked Mama. And then I want to ask you, the people watching this, if you were in my position, would you let your ex see the kids after 3 years of abandonment? Would you give him that chance? Or would you protect your daughters from more disappointment? It's not an easy answer, and I really want to hear your thoughts. Comment below and let me know what you would do. I decided to meet with Jamal first, without the girls, to see where his head really was. We met at a park, neutral territory. I barely recognized him. 3 years had turned him into a different person, skinny, gray-skinned, eyes yellowed from liver damage, looking 20 years older than his actual age. Vanessa had left him a year ago, he told me. The drinking had driven everyone away. He was living in a halfway house, trying to get sober, trying to survive. I'm sorry, he said, and he was crying. I'm so sorry for everything, Mia. I destroyed our family. I stole from you. I abandoned my daughters. I blamed you for my own weakness. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking. Anyway, please let me see my girls before I die. Please let me try to be something, anything, to them. I looked at this broken man, and I realized something powerful. My healing wasn't dependent on his suffering. His destruction didn't make me feel better. His apology, as genuine as it might be, didn't erase what he'd done. But it also didn't have to define my future or my daughter's future. I'll think about it, I told him. But Jamal, they don't know you. You're a stranger to them. And if you come into their lives, you can't leave again. They can't handle that kind of abandonment twice. I understand, he said. Whatever you decide, I'll respect it. I talked to Daniel about it that night. Part of me wants to say no, I admit it. Wants to protect the girls from any more pain. But another part thinks everyone deserves a chance at redemption. What would you do? Daniel held my hand and said something wise. This isn't about what I'd do. This is about what's best for Maya and Mia. What do you think serves them better? Meeting their father and potentially being disappointed? Or never knowing him and always wondering? There's no right answer, baby. Just what feels true for your family. After weeks of thinking, praying, and talking it through with Mama, I decided to let Jamal meet the girls. But on my terms, supervised visits at Mama's house with me present, and only if he stayed sober. He agreed to everything. Showed up for that first visit shaking and nervous, bringing age-appropriate toys this time. Not sure how to even talk to 3-year-old girls. Maya and Mia were shy at first, hiding behind my legs. But kids are resilient, curious. Eventually, they warmed up, played with the toys, asked questions. "Are you our daddy?" Mia asked directly, the way toddlers do. "Yes, baby," Jamal said, tearing up. "I'm your daddy. And I'm sorry I haven't been here. But I'm here now, and I love you very much." I watched this scene with complicated emotions. This wasn't a fairy tale reunion. This wasn't redemption. This was just messy, complicated reality. A sick man trying to know his daughters, daughters trying to understand a father they'd never known, and a mother trying to do right by everyone, including herself. The visits continued every other week. Jamal stayed sober for 6 months, the longest stretch he'd managed in years. He got to see the girls grow, hear their stories, be present in small ways. It wasn't enough to make up for 3 years of absence, but it was something. And honestly, it helped me heal too. Not because I forgave him fully, but because I released the bitterness I'd been carrying. His presence or absence no longer controlled my emotional state. Crown and Glory exploded that year. After Target, we got into Sephora and Ulta. I hired a full team, moved into an even bigger facility, launched new products that kept selling out. The little business I'd started in my kitchen, at my lowest point, was now a multi-million-dollar company. I was being featured in magazines, invited to speak at conferences, mentoring other Black women entrepreneurs. But you know what meant more than all of that? Coming home to Daniel, Maya, and Mia. Having a partner who celebrated my success without feeling diminished by it. Having daughters who saw their mother build an empire. Having peace in my spirit that no amount of money could buy. Daniel proposed to me 1 year after the Target launch, on a regular Tuesday night after we'd put the girls to bed. Nothing fancy, no elaborate plans, just him getting down on one knee in my living room and saying, "I want to build the rest of my life with you. I want to be a father to these girls. I want to be your partner in everything. Will you marry me?" I said yes, without hesitation. Not because I'd forgotten what Jamal did, but because I'd learned that one man's betrayal didn't define all men. That real love was patient, consistent, supportive, and showed up even when things were hard. That I deserved happiness and partnership, and a man who saw my strength as beautiful, not threatening. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you're going through something similar right now, if you're in the middle of your own storm, I need you to hear this. You will survive. You will rebuild. You will find joy again. It won't look like you planned, and the path will be harder than you deserve, but you will make it. Hit that subscribe button if this story touched you, because I've got one more part to share. We got married 6 months after Daniel proposed, in a small ceremony at Mama's church with everyone who mattered. Maya and Mia were flower girls, wearing matching purple dresses and throwing petals everywhere, except where they were supposed to. Miss Joyce was there, Keisha stood as my maid of honor, and the entire Blessed Hands salon crew came out. Even some of my clients from the early days showed up, the ones who'd supported Crown and Glory when it was just 20 jars in a kitchen. But here's what made it perfect. It wasn't about the wedding. It was about the marriage. Daniel and I had already been building a life together, already been partners, already been a family with the girls. The ceremony was just making official what we'd already created through choice, through work, through showing up for each other. Every single day. Jamal was too sick to attend, which was probably for the best. His health had declined rapidly despite the supervised visits. The cirrhosis was advanced, and doctors had told him he had maybe a year left, probably less, if he didn't get a liver transplant. But his drinking history disqualified him from the transplant list. He'd made his choices, and now he was living or dying with the consequences. I'd made peace with that. Not because I wanted him to suffer, but because I understood that everyone's story is their own. Jamal's ending wasn't my responsibility to fix or save. My responsibility was to the two little girls, calling Daniel daddy, and to the man who'd chosen to love all of us, broken pieces and all. The first year of marriage was beautiful, but chaotic. Crown and glory continued growing faster than I could manage. We were doing 7 figures in revenue, expanding internationally, getting approached by major retailers in Canada and the UK. I hired a COO to help manage operations, brought on a marketing team, moved into a 15,000 square foot facility. The little business I'd started to survive had become something that employed 35 people and changed lives. Daniel opened his second and third barbershops during that same year. We became a true power couple in New Orleans, both running successful businesses, both giving back to our community, both showing up as examples of what's possible after devastation. We started a scholarship fund for single mothers trying to start businesses, because I remembered what those $300 from my salon sisters meant when I had nothing. Maya and Mia thrived with Daniel in their lives. They called him daddy without hesitation, without confusion. He showed up to every school event, every doctor's appointment, every bedtime story. He loved them not because he had to, but because he chose to. And that choice, every single day, healed something in me I didn't even know was still broken. Jamal passed away when the girls were 4 years old. Mama called me one morning to tell me he'd been found in his halfway house room, gone peacefully in his sleep. Liver failure had finally won. I felt that complicated grief again, sad for the man he could have been, sad for my daughters who'd barely gotten to know their biological father, but also relieved that his suffering was over. We had a small funeral. Vanessa showed up, looking rough herself, full of regret and apologies I didn't need. She'd married Jamal a year after I divorced him, thinking she'd won some prize. Instead, she'd gotten a man who was already destroying himself, who brought nothing but chaos and debt. They divorced within 6 months. She tried to talk to me at the funeral, to explain, to apologize, but I kept it brief. Some chapters don't need closure. They just need to end. Are you okay? Daniel asked me that night after the funeral, after we'd put the girls to bed, and explained in age-appropriate ways that their birth daddy had gone to heaven. I'm okay, I said, and I meant it. I'm grateful, actually. Grateful that Jamal got to meet them, that they have some memories of him, even if they're small. Grateful that his story doesn't define ours. Grateful that you're here, that we built something real, that those girls have a father who shows up. They're lucky to have you as a mother, Daniel said, holding me close. You turned pain into purpose, baby. You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and built an empire from it. That's not luck. That's power. And he was right. Looking back now, 5 years after that day in the salon when Vanessa showed me Jamal's picture, I can see the path clearly. Every betrayal, every setback, every moment I thought I couldn't survive actually pushed me toward the life I was meant to live. If Jamal hadn't cheated, I might have stayed in a mediocre marriage, working in someone else's salon, never building crown and glory. If he hadn't stolen that money, I might never have gotten desperate enough to take risks. If I hadn't hit rock bottom, I would never have discovered how high I could climb. I'm not saying I'm grateful for the betrayal. That pain was real, and it cost me years of peace. But I am saying that we have the power to decide what our pain produces. Mine produced resilience, creativity, a business, a real partnership, and a life beyond what I could have imagined. Crown and Glory is now in over 2,000 stores worldwide. We've launched a men's line that Daniel helps develop and promote through his barbershops. We've created jobs, changed beauty standards, and shown that Black-owned businesses can compete at the highest levels. Last month, we were approached by a major corporation wanting to acquire Crown and Glory for 8 figures. 8 figures. From 20 jars in a kitchen to an 8-figure buyout offer. I haven't decided yet if I'll sell. Part of me wants to keep building, keep growing, keep being hands-on with the company I created from nothing. Another part wants to take the money, secure my family's future forever, and maybe start teaching other women how to build their own empires. What would you do? If someone offered you life-changing money for something you built from scratch, something that saved you, would you sell? Or would you hold on? I genuinely want to know your thoughts on this, so drop a comment and tell me what you'd do in my position. Maya and Mia are 7 years old now, thriving in school, funny and smart and full of personality. They know their story. They know about Jamal, about how mommy built a business, about how Daniel chose to be their daddy. We don't hide the truth from them because they deserve to understand that families come in all forms, that strength looks like their mother, and that real love looks like a man who shows up even when he doesn't have to. Sometimes they ask about Jamal, wonder what he was like, wish they could have known him better. I tell them the truth. Their birth father loved them, but struggled with things that made it hard for him to be present. That his struggles weren't their fault. That they're allowed to feel however they feel about him. And that they have a daddy who will never leave them, who will always show up, who chose them every single day. If you're watching this and you're in the middle of your own storm right now, maybe you just found out about a betrayal. Maybe you're financially devastated. Maybe you're wondering how you'll survive. I need you to hear this. You will make it. Not because it's easy, not because it doesn't hurt, but because you're stronger than you know. That strength might be buried under pain right now, but it's there, waiting for you to discover it. Start small. I started with 20 jars of hair cream. You might start with something completely different, but start somewhere. Use your pain as fuel, not as an anchor. Let people help you. Real community, real support. Real love shows up when you need it most. Don't close yourself off from possibility because one person proved themselves unworthy. There are good people out there, people who will see your worth even when you can't see it yourself. And please remember this. Hitting rock bottom doesn't mean you're finished. Sometimes it means you're being repositioned. Sometimes you have to lose everything that wasn't meant for you to make room for everything that is. 3 years ago, I was sleeping with my lights cut off, wondering how I'd feed my babies, convinced my life was over. Today, I'm running a multi-million-dollar empire, married to my best friend, raising happy children, and living in peace. That transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened in small choices, hard days, moments of faith when I had no proof things would work out. It happened in a kitchen at 2 a.m. mixing hair products while my babies slept. It happened in accepting $300 from my salon sisters and promising to pay it forward. It happened in saying yes to Daniel's coffee invitation, even though I was terrified. It happened in letting go of bitterness toward Jamal and choosing to focus on building rather than destroying. Your breakthrough is coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, but if you keep showing up, keep working, keep believing that you deserve better, it will come. And when it does, you'll look back and realize that every painful step was necessary to get you where you were always meant to be. Before I go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to my story, for being here, for caring about a stranger's journey from devastation to triumph. If this story touched you, inspired you, or gave you hope, please hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your story matters too, and I'd love to hear it in the comments. Tell me where you're at in your journey. Tell me what you're building. Tell me how you're surviving. Let's build a community of people who refuse to let their worst moments define them. And if you're that person who's in the salon chair right now, or scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m. wondering if you'll make it, I'm talking directly to you. You will survive this. You will rebuild. You will find joy again. Your story isn't over. This is just the chapter where everything changes, where you discover what you're really made of, where you become the person you were always meant to be. From rock bottom to the top, baby. That's my story. And it can be yours too. This is Nia Thompson, reminding you that sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. Crown and Glory isn't just my business name. It's my testimony. And yours is coming too.